What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new week. I'm propping up on the Gold Boys Network, brought to you by Pickett. Pickett is the top sports betting app for tracking your bets, seeing what your friends are doing, recapping your past week, month, see what sports are working, which are not. Thanks for Pickett, for making this show possible. Walla, how we doing? New
Uh,
week. Slate looks pretty nice tonight. How you
yeah,
feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Yesterday was all right. I've been liking Cole Perfetti a lot lately. His points is they finally put a shot line up for him. Uh, he hit that. They gave him 1.5. He got 3. So felt good to just we don't like those 1.5 lines a lot of the time, or when they finally put a guy's line up, you feel like it might be them trying to get you, but not, I love that guy. Came through pretty easily. So feeling good.
Great.
Hayes and Trevor Moore have been cruising and helping me out. So
Evan Hayes is, if we're not careful, he's going to get a 3.5 bump soon. That guy,
yeah, he's got to go under for us soon, just to keep it reasonable.
I got Kevin Hayes makes it nice because that guy just loves to shoot immediately. Like yesterday, was like digesting from a day of just watching football and eating, and I look and he already had 2 shots immediately. Like, I love this guy. It's just what that does to morale to see one of your shot guys have a couple quick ones in the first. 'Cause 0 is just the worst number. Um, so yeah, I'm loving Kevin Hayes, hoping he keeps it rolling.
Yeah, that's been a
Yeah.
real treat, especially since I had brought it up. He was so great, and to finish out the season as a for props. So him just coming back as just a yeah trustworthy guy has been awesome.
Yeah, last week for me, just um, like a high level was not great, mostly on the props end. Game totals have been solid. I'm definitely going to bump down most of my props to half unit wagers this week. So I find so many of these leans keep hitting, and the ones that I bring forth are not. So I kind of like to spread the net a little bit and see what works. And the best way to do that while limiting risk is just move down the unit wagers to stabilize. So that's how I'm feeling heading to the new week. Ready for a breakthrough. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've been doing that too. A lot more half unit bets thrown in there, like you said. Just there's a lot of stuff that you like, and it sucks when stuff comes through and you just didn't put anything on it. So being able to get a little bit more, more of those leans involved can help out. Just you want to be careful about it. You still don't want to go overboard, but bringing it down to the half unit really helps a lot. Um, it also helps too with some of these bets that I was talking about this last season. I didn't take a lot of you know crazy plus money bets, but I've been throwing more stuff like that in there with the half unit, and they've been coming through. Like Hayes and Moore yesterday, that was almost plus 200, so that was nice. But even stuff goal scorers that are in the plus 200 range, uh, getting those involved, that those really can help in there when you get those right and mitigate that risk, lower the unit size. So we're going to be doing a lot of that, I think, late in the future.
Yeah, I like the approach. Um, I like moving down the game totals still as well. Um, Man, I had a really articulate thought I was hoping to bring up before we got started, and it completely just left my brain. So that's a bummer.
They'll come back. Let's get into the slate though. It's I think there's a few games that are just like, I'm kind of overwhelmed. It feels like there's so many awesome spots, and
I
I'm gonna limit myself, kind of hone in on them, I think.
I did remember what I wanted to ask you, and I'm wondering if anyone else is curious. Have you started looking into last 10 numbers a little bit more? Because last year I put a lot of weight into what's happening recently. Now we got 25 games plus under all these teams' belts. At what point do we start going back to just seeing how many goals, shots they've allowed in the last 10 instead of the season? Because it's a very it's a game of runs here. You know like teams start getting penalized a lot more. And when you look at last 10 compared to season, sometimes it's pretty stark in either direction. Like a team like Dallas, we've known as being very penalized. Last 10, not so much. So have you started looking into those numbers at all? And when would you feel comfortable doing so?
Yeah, actually, it's really good to bring up. And it's good to pay attention. I always say pay attention to the lines and stuff, but as the season goes on and stuff too, some teams will start they're going to start adjusting. They adjust more, move things around. We've been seeing some guys lines shuffling around, or just I mentioned Perfetti, these rookies who have settled in and are producing a lot more, whether it's more time on ice, there's more comfortable with attempts, and stuff like that. If you bring up their full season stats, you could see a lot of these guys are starting to produce more lately or something like that. So the last 10 can really help out there. And you don't only want to rely on that. There's a lot of context around everything, but uh when it comes to the shots, it really is about volume, and that stuff you could see it just come and go. So you kind of do have to look at kind of a smaller lens with some of these guys to hit them on the right streak. If if that makes any sense. You played Blake Wheeler, and this season, if you look at him, he's what was he even doing in the beginning of the season? Wasn't shooting at all, and now it's just six straight. So you gotta find those moments, and you can't do that unless you're looking at just the most recent games when a guy's volume blows up. So yeah, to kind of sum it up, I think this is a good point in the season to really put some more weight into that stuff. Find the guys who are um the production is just increasing, and there's probably a reason behind it, whether it's a bump up on a power play unit or just a switch in lines and something, on the team. But yeah, I think we can start looking at that. Um, don't put all your weight into it, but definitely you could find some real nice hot streaks with good value, because their season value might, you know, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't look good, but then you put it in that limited lens and you're like, oh, okay, like he's really hot and we're still getting this little plus money number. And that's where you can really make your profits here.
Yeah, not just hot streaks for a player, a team that
Yeah.
all of a sudden isn't letting up shots anymore. Even though our brain, like, this is not the case, but let's just say all of a sudden the Ducks have only been letting up 30 shots, but we've just are conditioned to thinking Ducks must bet against them. So I do think it's almost that time to start bringing in those numbers on a daily basis. That context matters for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, let's jump in. First game I'm seeing, why don't we start Calgary, Montreal? I think we're both looking at one guy and thinking how to play it. So why don't you articulate that a little bit?
Yeah. So as I was saying before, there's a few games that really stand out, and I'm gonna probably focus in on them. But in this game, I think the look that probably you're gonna see people talking about and playing is Toffoli. He's playing his former team, and he's played them twice since he's left them, and he had 3 and 7 shots on goal. Montreal, they're a good target for shots, and I think you've mentioned before that they've always let up shots while they give up like a power play, and now they've started giving up more than they have in the beginning of the season. So that's obviously a nice combination there for Toffoli, who shoots a lot on the power play. His road numbers are underwhelming. When you look at it, he hits the 3 shots a lot more at home than he does on the road. But matchup wise, it just makes it feels good today.
Yeah, I would
Especially with
agree.
an alt line of 2. Sorry to cut you off. That alt line of 2 is crazy. His hit rate goes from like 80 something percent down to 50 when you switch between like 2 shots and 3 shots. So uh, just keep that in mind. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I do like, maybe it is time to experiment with I don't know what the phrase is, watering down. It's not laddering, that's for sure, but taking a guy's alt shots lower, like Trevor Moore, your guy.
Oh my
He
God, two
he
plus
must
seven.
he has to get at least 2 shots on that, and that's, I mean, maybe that's sort of this, this, it's a cat and mouse game with props, and the books. Maybe it's time to start going in the opposite direction a little bit more and for a safer floor. So I like that approach. I think, yeah, I think Calgary for shots looks good. Montreal, great target, and they are being penalized more. On the year, Toffoli leads Calgary in power play shots, but again, back to that last 10, if you put weight on that, Lindholm has been leading the charge there with 11 power play shots in his last 10, and then it's Toffoli at 9. So, I mean, he's still very involved. I like the revenge angle, though. I love that 7 shots against him, whenever that was earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
No one on Calgary really has like that shot production that you would like to see. Like, I haven't really seen anyone that steady, especially on the road. But as a team, they're still shooting on the road. Maybe it's a guy like Kadri. You could move him down 2 to 3 shots, looks much better. He's got 5 against Montreal and 2 straight. So I think it's a good. He's plus 120 is interesting to go over 3.5. But yeah, I'm a sucker for the revenge angle too. Like so many people are, it just seems to. I mean, people say that in so many sports, but I just feel like in NHL, these guys, when they play their former teams, seem to always put out. It's great. Anything else you're seeing here?
Yeah, it's been a good angle to attack. I think I'm cutting out a bit. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay, I'm good. All right, yeah, sorry, it was getting a little choppy there. Didn't want to start anything. Yeah, I think maybe I don't know what like a saves line is at or a team shots line is at for Calgary, but that could also be a look here if you have that market available. The team shots or maybe say the saves on the other side, but because they are shooting a lot as a team, like you said. Kadri's a good look though.
Are you looking at anyone on Montreal? I know Calgary's been a little looser lately. Wanted to see how the last couple games between the Flames and Canadians have been. 3 goals. They've been going under a lot.
I don't know. I like other spots more. I think that's really what it boils down to today. There's some other games I think are a bit more interesting.
You're cutting out.
My bad.
It's all right. Hopefully that gets remedied. Caulfield's on a tear. It's worth mentioning. Scored in 4 of his last 5 games, and he scored when they played at the beginning of December. So if you do need someone on Montreal, that's probably your best bet, because Calgary is heavily penalized as well. Caulfield leads the charge for Montreal there by a sizable margin. But let's keep it moving to maybe a more exciting game, Dallas Pittsburgh. I think we're both. Sidney Crosby caught our eye for shots. He is over in 5 of 6 overall, 5 straight at home. He's had some nice history against Dallas in the past, and the Stars let up a lot of shots on the road. I've got them down at 34.1 shots allowed on the road this year. And Pittsburgh, obviously, as a team, shoots like crazy. So I think there's a couple Penguins that look good. Crosby caught my eye. Minus 137 is reasonable. I might parlay that with Toffoli, to be honest.
Yeah, I like Crosby as well. Hopefully not cutting out here, but he looks solid. You did mention Dallas, maybe not as many power play opportunities, but still giving up decent amount of shots. And Crosby's just been real solid. And like you said, those past numbers are nice. I like the Toffoli pairing. I'm gonna like you said, mess around, maybe see what it would bring the price to. Since I like Crosby a lot, if I did Toffoli 2 shots with it, something like that, start experimenting a bit.
I would say, off the props lines for a second, to talk about these games in a different way. I'd be a little wary of the over here. You might Dallas, Pittsburgh, both great offenses. Everyone's different what they weigh, but if you look at past history between these two teams, they do not hit 6.5. They have not gone over that mark since February 2018, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 straight games has gone under 6.5. Something to keep in mind. Two great teams. Maybe they just up the defensive intensity a little bit here. So I'd be just a little wary of loading up too many goal scorers in this one, even though the studs like Robertson, who has been quiet now for a couple games and surely going to find the back of the net sooner before later. Not my favorite game for goals.
Yeah, same. I think I was looking at shots in this one. If I'm looking for props here, should be some good angles. Robertson, like you said, Crosby. I think those are the two big ones here.
That's what I was hoping goalie saves would be a little. These guys, I think the books are clearly seeing what we are. Jerry and Ottinger are both 30.5 and 29.5 at their saves numbers. They're not hitting very consistently, but if we like a lot of shots and not a lot of goals, there is some logic there.
For sure. Yeah.
Not seeing a hit rate I like.
Yeah, so they are thinking it's going to be a shot fest tonight if they're bumping their lines up like that.
Are you thinking about Robertson? I mean, obviously he's super steady.
Always. I mean, he's so good. He looks, his volume's pretty much there. I think he maybe is better at home, but if you wanted to do something in the same game, you would think it'd be like Robertson and Crosby.
I think we need to mention we had quite a squad ride on Hintz's shots on Saturday, and obviously that failed. He had, reason we liked him. He had been over in 3 straight, and he had nice history against Detroit. So he did go under. He finished with 1 on goal, but he still had 6 attempts, which is steady with his last 3 games. And what do you know? He's got 3 shots and 2 straight against Pittsburgh, and he's plus 114. If you've been watching me a Walla for a while, we really like to not listen to our own advice. We've been big proponents of trusting the bounce back, even when we don't do it ourselves. This is certainly a prime example for that. It's tough to ignore.
On the road now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's true. A lot of these guys come through the following game, and he has hit a couple times against Pittsburgh. Volume was there. That was so frustrating, but the volume was there. So maybe the efficiency goes up in this game, and plus money is always nice.
I mean, it is interesting how solid all of these Dallas guys are for shots when you look at the fact that Jerry, the Penguins goalie's at 30.5 saves, and the Penguins let up over 35 per game at home. Pavelski's minus 120, super reasonable. Guys like, Heiskanen's been rolling as well. And I mean, even Robertson at minus 145 is not that bad in the grand scheme of things compared to the prices we get on some of these other guys. So interesting to me, a little divide there between a really high goalie saves number and reasonable shot odds on the other end.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Did you have anything else in that game, or I think you had something in the next game, Devils and Rangers, right?
I'm definitely, Devils. I'm thinking about putting them over 2.5 goals in a play, maybe with the Senators to also score. That was pretty simple, just looking at the Devils scoring 4.1 on the road. The Rangers surprisingly allowing 3.3 at home, and just it's simple green on green. The Devils in the last 10, back to the last 10, the one spot I have been bringing in those numbers now is power play, which I'm finding is crazy different than a full season. But Devils power play scoring rates picked up last 10, and the Rangers penalty kill has been atrocious lately. Only 72.4. So that just makes me think Devils can net one. Their over 2.5 is actually only minus 170. I find that to be a really nice parlay piece. They've scored three. I don't have it up, but I was not seeing a game the Devils weren't scoring at least three in a long time. I know Shesterkin's in net, but I'm just following the numbers here. And I can't get Devils props right, so I think I'm done. I can't do it. It doesn't matter who I pick; it doesn't work out. So maybe I should just bet them to score 3 goals and move on with my night.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad strategy. I think last time these two teams met, you were on the Devils. I stayed off that game, but it ended up being a pretty crazy game. If I remember correctly, the Rangers went up and the Devils
Mm-hmm.
went on a little run and ended up winning.
Yeah, they
So
won 5-3.
could be some angles for props in this one. It all just comes down to, like I said before, I think the most enticing games are coming up later. So that's where my mind has been this morning.
Just to follow up on the over 2.5, the Devils have scored less than that. So that would be 2 or 1 or 0 for the guys that aren't good at math out there. They've only done that once since October 30th. That's a lot of games. They're getting at least 3. So I really like that price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, real quick before we go on, somebody in chat saying Pittsburgh. It seems Pittsburgh allows a lot of shots to defense, and I believe they have been. And Heiskanen's he's been shooting. I never seem to get him right, so it's just one of those things. It's just a guy that I might be a little bit biased towards, just because whenever I like him and play him, he doesn't come through for me. But if you're liking the defense angle, that's the defender probably to look at on that side.
Yeah, I mean it's solid. He's hitting, and he definitely shoots more at home, as is often the case with most guys. But he's still hitting on the road. He just hits seems to be a little sweatier with the
Mm-hmm.
attempts. But I mean, I'm seeing 22 attempts over his last 3 games, clearly involved. I don't hate that look. Minus 125 is solid. Hit against him last time he faced him in January.
Mm-hmm.
That's a super solid look.
Yeah, I wonder what the team shots line is for Dallas today. But let's keep moving, because I think we're gonna talk a good bit about some of the later games. So
Yeah, juicy one. Ottawa, Anaheim. I don't even know. I don't know who to pick because they all look so good. But I know you locked in one. So why don't you explain it?
yeah, I went with Stutzel over 2.5 shots. Is that minus 115 on FanDuel? Uh, his volume's been really nice as of late. We think about Kachuk, who's really good as well, and we like Kachuk because he has taken 7 attempts in a game, stuff like that. Well, Stutzel's been having some good volume. He had 6 shots last time he faced the Ducks, and he only ended up with 1 on net, which is unfortunate, obviously. But I like that volume. He's been hitting a bit recently, more than he was in earlier on in the season. So I think at 2.5, it's really just minus 115 was a really solid price for 3 shots. When we look around at some other players we're liking, we're seeing minus 135, minus 140. So seeing in a reasonable line and against the Ducks is always appealing to me. And before that one shot game, I believe he had a couple big games against the Ducks prior to that in other meetings. So, come back here against them. I like it a lot. That one just felt good to lock in at the 2.5 line.
Yeah, I think that's solid. Yeah, Kachuk getting the bump is interesting because he hasn't crossed that at home that much. I mean, it's the Ducks, so it might not matter. I mean, Kachuk's got 15 in his last 2 against Anaheim.
Yeah.
For some reason, Alex DeBrincat's calling my name today. And that just seems like I'm just betting someone who feels due, which is not that scientific. I mean, he's shooting a ton. He just hasn't been efficient with these attempts, but averaging 6.4 over his last 5. If you have books like Barstool, I think lets you move points props around. DeBrincat to get 1 point seems like a really solid inclusion in a parlay. He's bumped up to over 1.5 at plus 146, but he's got a point in 5 straight games. I just want to look at the whole season here. 8 of his last 9, and he's got 9 points in his last 4 against the Ducks. That's a lot of points. I see a massive power play edge here for Ottawa, which is kind of why I wanted to put their goals in with the Devils and move it down to 2.5, which is those odds are on their own, I think minus 350 or minus 400. So you want to bump that up to 3.5, obviously, if you want to play something straight. I definitely think they score in the power play.
Mm-hmm.
So I might just look here for a goal, see who's, I don't know. I just feel like DeBrincat, I just haven't seen that guy's name enough, and he's so talented, and this team is so bad on the other end. I don't know. I might just go DeBrincat goal, half unit, and take it easy here. But I think shots and goals look awesome for Ottawa.
We have somebody in chat here saying he's game time decision though. Just keep that.
Oh, Alex, what are you doing to me?
He did have a nice game against the Ducks when they met prior, but yeah, he's day to day. So we'll see if he's in or not. But yeah, as far as what you're saying, going goals, I did lock in Stützle shots, and Kachuk looks good for his shots.
You're gonna want to restart that sentence you cut out there.
Oh, sorry, just said goals. Kachuk, Stützle, look good.
I mean, Batherson's shooting a ton too.
3.5. Just bump that line up to 3.5 for their goals. See, it seems really solid.
All right, I don't like anything on the Ducks end. Do you? We could keep it moving.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody can get something done, but the Ottawa side is really where it seems like there's a lot of good looks today.
Next game was the first bet I placed today. Edmonton, Minnesota. Going right back to over 6.5. They've played twice already in December. Hit both times. Now hit 5 of their last 7. They've gone over. These are just two teams, especially when Minnesota's home. The numbers just look really solid. Both teams scoring. Both teams letting up goals. Both teams scoring on the power play, and both teams having a really bad penalty kill right now. It's just a lot of signs that point to goals. I got 6.5 at minus 120 this morning. Seems super solid to me, and I also think this could be a great one to, obviously straight bets are your best bet, but maybe same game parlay and a couple guys to score. I know AO and JD, all they do is not all they do, but they love to bet McDavid Draisaitl same game parlay. It's come through in both games between these two teams. McDavid's on fire.
Yeah, I think you could go a few guys for goal looks, shots. I have a play in this game. I parlayed Ek over 2.5 shots, and for him to get a point. It's hit in 4 of the last 5 against Edmonton. At home, he's just been racking up points like crazy, and he loves to shoot against bad teams like that allow shots. So he's one of those guys that really is predictable, it seems.
Not that Edmonton's a bad team, but they are
against shots.
They're
against shots.
Defensively generous for sure.
Yeah, like bad. We've talked about this in our Discord. If you look up teams that are good for centers to have a good game, Edmonton's I think up there, and Ek just like he looks at the list too. He checks the list. He's like, oh, I'm supposed to do good in this game. All right, got it. And then he just like shows up, it seems, and he loves playing against Edmonton. So I like him all around.
I had So I bet the over, and I also bet McDavid goal, and Eriksson at goal with those 4 and 5. And yeah, the 5 shots and back to back against them is just juicy. Very involved in the power play too, where I think both teams are going to score. If you have, what is it? I think it's Bet Rivers, Sugar House, let you bet, power play goals, over 1.5 power play goals in this game. If that's reasonable, I think that's worth a bet for sure. Yeah, I like Eriksson. I think best odds I saw were plus 205 on DraftKings. It's interesting. That was the best standalone odds, but you try a same game parlay in DraftKings, and Eriksson is not there. They must be terrified. That was my takeaway, because I was thinking about, should I combine McDavid and Eriksson and go for a big shot here? And I said, no, stop doing that. Take them straight, you idiot. And that was my approach.
Yeah, no, I like when I go through and start doing my half unit plays, his goal is one that I'll be looking at. But I just, at plus 120 to pair his shots in a point in this matchup, just felt really solid for a unit. I like both of them, both those plays, and plus 120 is a price that I like to play for a unit most of the time anyway. So boom, perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna put his shots at 2.5 and something, or maybe I'll just take him at 4+. I'm not sure, but love the 2.5.
Really good thing in the chat right now. Somebody saying Eck goal is plus 210 on bet 365. They do not count overtime. They don't count overtime for goals, so I don't like betting there. It's just not worth getting it happening to you and not getting the win. So keep
Would you
that in
mind? Would you mind if I didn't have to sweat that one out till overtime though? I was thinking maybe he could score like in the first 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that's plus 210, you got it what, plus 205? I don't think that's a big enough price difference to jump over there and then lose overtime as an option.
Yeah, no, it's weird what they're doing there. I know we've seen some tickets that should be winners that are not, and that's upsetting.
Yeah, they just don't count it. So,
I mean, even back to more goals for, obviously you know how good Connor McDavid is, but he scored in both games against Minnesota this year, and he scored in 7 straight. Plus 103 feels really solid there, in a game I think has 7+ goals. So I also bet McDavid. I put a half unit on him as well.
yeah,
But
no, that's because you have a unit on the over. So yeah.
Speaking of centers, why we like Eriksson Ek, I think Sam Steele needs to be mentioned again. Top line center on Minnesota. He scored in the first meeting between these two teams, and he's been shooting really steady. He's plus 375 for a goal, I believe. I don't love being so invested on goals in a game when I'm also on the over. If this somehow was a 2-1 finish, I'm putting myself in a hole, but I'm confident it won't be. I did have Sam Steele in a 3-leg parlay that obviously came up a leg short. It was a degenerate parlay, and it was against Edmonton. I put him in. So I think I'm going to go back to him here at home, top line. I don't know. Centers against Edmonton is a fruitful strategy.
Yeah, definitely. AO talking about Ryan Nugent Hopkins in the chat. And now me and Griffey are just bitter about that.
My God.
You bet his shots in his goal, and he gets 2 on net, comes up short from the goal, and then the very next game he gets 4 shots in a goal. So it's just
and he scored again after that. This rat bastard. When did we bet him against Washington? Did we bet him last Monday against Washington, right? Because I'm looking, and he's got 4 goals in his last 4, and that's his little goose egg there for us. That bastard.
So yeah, that's a good look.
Yeah, super good look.
Oh man, that's funny.
Man, plus 118 for shots too. What a loser.
So mean.
I mean, we haven't mentioned Kaprizov. I think, going for one of those stud same game parlays, Kaprizov, McDavid, or Draisaitl could work. I mean, he did score against Edmonton when they were home. I was just a little sketched out by that was his only goal against the Oilers in 5 games. Um, but it's Kaprizov at home.
No, he's not supported because you needed him last game.
You're right. So everyone else should bet him. That's
I
so
think
true.
McDavid and Cat. That's a good one there. Solid little parlay. We needed, Kaprizov on the road last game. Didn't come through, so now he's back at home in a good spot. Uh,
Alternative, Alternatively, a play I think looks solid. Um, so obviously, I like Minnesota scoring the power play, and in general, Kaprizov, when he hosts the Oilers, has 5 points in his last two. Uh, his over 1.5 is plus 130. If you really don't like to bet the games over and really want to get the players involved only, that seems like a really solid option to me.
mhm, for sure. He should.
And
I think he has a bounce back game.
I mean, he's got at least 1 point in 8 straight. He only had one against the Ducks at home, but at home, I was saying there for 8 straight. He had 2+ and 4 straight before that. So plus 130 is pretty solid.
Yeah, not bad. All right.
Yeah,
And
that should be a fun game. Is that on? I mean, I got ESPN Plus, so it doesn't matter, but it feels like that should be a national TV game. But I feel like they don't do that on Mondays.
we'll see. I definitely will put that one on somewhere. But we got one game left. Nashville and St. Louis, and I think probably see a lot of people talking about him. We're waiting. We want the alt line on him, but Yossi, oh man, his shots are looking nice in this spot. The Blues have been a good target for defensemen.
Great target for defenseman. I'm really angry at myself for not betting Makar shots yesterday in some form. He finished with 6. The Blues just get peppered by defensemen. I'm very upset that I didn't have that flagged yesterday with a shorthanded Avs team and Makar. I'm hoping some people had a winner there.
Yeah, we have on the screen now, his 5 shots on goal. That'll be if FanDuel provides the alt line for it. I've mentioned if you've liked Yossi, any spot where you've liked him to go over, and he hits right. His hit rate is almost the same when you go up to 5 shots. It's only 2 games where he's had 4 shots this whole season, so it's either 5 or more, or going under that 3.5 line. So the 3.5 line's been pretty juiced. You'd be up way more if you just played 5 shots every game, which obviously you're adding risk there, but that's just kind of how I've been looking at Yossi. Uh, he's been just either going absolutely crazy with 5+, or oftentimes going 2 or fewer. So it's a good look if they give us that plus money line. His 3.5 line obviously seems fine too. It's just pretty juiced.
Yeah, and he had 7 against the Blues. I don't know if you mentioned that and I missed it when he saw them in October. It is pretty crazy that he doesn't know how to land on 4. He's got to keep shooting. Great land. I mean, you could go past 5 if you're feeling crazy. He's got 14 in his last 2 games. He's over 5.5 in 5 of his last 9 games. Not a bad guy to climb up today, if that's your type of thing.
Yeah.
14 attempts last game against Ottawa.
That one I love. It just seems like an awesome spot for him. That's when I like brought it up. Just people were talking about parlaying him at the 3.5 line, and I was just like, maybe just bump it up to 5. The guy loves to hit 5 and go crazy. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that line. That's just we just love the spot for him.
I do another one I put into Gold Boys a couple hours ago. I really like the over in this one. It's over 6 minus 120 on DraftKings, or you could do over 6.5 at plus money anywhere you want. I like going with the 6 here. Relatively simple. I mean, I had these teams written down for maybe goals just because Nashville lets up 3.8 on the road and St. Louis has let up 3.9 at home. So that's always a nice start. And then both teams' penalty kills are really bad. St. Louis, especially, even though they're not handing out a ton of power play chances, they've got about a 55% penalty kill over the last 10 games, which is just awful. But then I looked, StatMuse, I always like just plugging in, team versus team last 3 years or last 5 years just to see these two teams when they meet. They met in October, 8 goals. And then moving backwards, we got 11 goals, 11 goals, 8 goals, 7 goals, 3 goals, 7 goals. And that's just back to February 2020. And looking at some trends, both teams are 6-3-1 to the over in their location in the last 10. So over 6 seems super reasonable. It opens the door for a push, so be it. But I think it hits. If you want to go plus money, I think it's a good spot to do, or move it down to 5.5 and pair it with maybe 5.5 in Minnesota. Edmonton would probably come out at plus money. I think that's a really solid play, but I like the 6. And Blues are trotting out their backup goalie. Grice, however you say that, he's letting up, I think, 3.8 per game, 3.69 actually. And Saros hasn't been as steady as he was last year either.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't mind that look at all. And if you're talking about the penalty kill, you can look at power play points for probably Yossi or Forsberg or somebody like that. Those guys who can get a lot of shots off on the power play. If they get on one, they're on a power play, they're going to be looking to shoot. So if St. Louis is probably not going to have with that penalty kill. That's going to be tough for them against Yossi and Forsberg, I think.
Ooh, I got you a parlay piece. If you like props, I don't know if you do.
And
Your old friend. Well, first, start on the power play. Nashville, both teams' penalty kills are bad. Nashville at least gives out more. So if you're just a volume guy, St. Louis might be better for points. Your old friend Robert Thomas is leading them in power play points, and that guy is he's got a point in 9 of his last 10 games. Let me stretch that range out a little bit. I don't even want to count that on air. It's a lot of points against the Preds. I'm seeing 8 points in his last 5 against them.
is point a good price? Is that what you're getting at?
Oh, no, you need a parlay piece. That's how I preface this.
Where are the assists? Are they assists mostly?
He's got 5 assists against them. Last 10, he's got 8 assists. Minus 122.
For an assist?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, power play point seems pretty solid. That's what you were getting at, right?
Really, and if you want to parlay something, I'd say Robert Thomas point is a really nice parlay leg.
Yeah. That's solid. That's a good one to flag there.
You know what, AO's been starting to do in Gold Boys, which we've been trying to figure out what the best way to do it with Caesars and Bet365 and Fliff letting you same game points. The Devils game over the weekend, he just split up that Brett Hughes, instead of doing all 3, he did every combination of the 2 of them. And they all hit. So the 3 would have worked as well. But maybe splitting up that Thomas line into a couple different combinations for points, if that comes out to plus money, could be a nice play.
Yeah, I like that line. When they was Carew, Tarasenko, and Thomas, right?
I'm checking. Yep.
Yeah. Buchnevich, he was out last game.
All on the first power play too, which is nice.
Yeah, that line's real solid. They had been skating a bit together earlier on, I think, and they were looking really good. Thomas was definitely getting production there. So that line would be solid in this spot for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Tarasenko had 7 points against Nashville in 4 games last year. He's got 6 in his last 6. And I just want to see Carew to put a bow on this conversation. That's weird. No point. Oh, there he is. Yeah, they get a lot of points against Nashville. I mean, I listed off how many goals have been scored against them, so it makes sense that all these guys are producing. But I don't hate looking to that line, that trio, for some points tonight.
That's really solid. All right.
I guess to quickly move to best bets, my favorites are probably the overs that I've talked about so far: Nashville, St. Louis, and Edmonton, Minnesota.
Yeah. I only have the props in, so my best bets are Stutzel, his shots, and the Eck shots and point parlay. Those are my two favorites today that I've put in so far. I mean, we've talked about a bunch of good looks, and you'll probably see some pop up on our, in our place. But as of right now, those are the two that really jumped out to me for as for the best bets today. And then moving into the Pickett play of the day, um, if the line becomes available, that alt line for Yossi at 5 shots, I think we're both going to be playing that. It's just a nice spot against the Blues, and I had mentioned it was when I was looking on props.cash. I was just looking at his hit rate at 3.5, and just noticing on the chart, I was like, man, so there's only 4 there twice, and then that's when I noticed that how often he's been hitting that 5+, and definitely you're winning a lot more money on the 5+ line than that 3.5 line. So looks really solid today.
Yeah, it's still not up, just checked, but love the look for him against a team that seems to
And
be.
I was gonna say, if he's not, that alt line doesn't become available, maybe that's when you can look on Caesars or Bet365, and you could do a parlay with his shots and one of these guys' points we've been talking about in this game, or just the over, like Griffey's going on. We've talked about how uh, a lot of it's all correlated shots, points, in the overs. So it's a bunch of different ways to go about this. But if that line becomes available, that's what we're going to be on.
I think it will be. I mean, I'm a little surprised it's not open yet. It almost won, but I think I'm going to just quickly plug in what that Robert Thomas point and Yossi over 3.5 on Caesars is plus 144. I think that's a solid play for sure. I'd like things to be standalone as much as possible. So we'll see where Yossi opens, but I think his shots will probably be around those odds as well. Hopefully.
Yeah. All right. Sweet.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope you took down some notes, because I know we touched on a lot. Let's start this week right.
Yeah. Good luck if you tuned in, and you're joining on some of our plays. Also, we've mentioned it. Take what you can from everything we said. It's not just about what we play. Use this information and find some good spots. But good luck. I think let's start off this week right. Seemed a little bit of a positive direction last night, so let's keep it rolling.
Yep, I'm down. Thanks to Pickett for making the show possible. Good luck tonight.
See ya.